In this lesson, we're going to take a look at some of the specialized features found in the mental ray phong shader. So let's get started by taking a look inside the hypershade. Now the phong shader can be found down toward the lower portion of the Maya, or rather the mental ray nodes. Now the phong shader is another one of these materials that has the capability to calculate a specular highlight. Now to see this in action, let's just take this material, middle click, drop it onto our object, and render our result. So now you can start to see we have a little bit of specular shininess on our object overall, although you can tell that the object is fairly blown out. So let's take a look inside this shader and make sure that the ambience is set all the way down to black. For a detailed explanation on the ambience, ambient, and diffuse attributes, you can refer to our lesson on the mental ray Lambert shader. So in this particular lesson, we're going to focus on the specialized attributes of the phong shader, which are the specular and the exponent. Now the specular is pretty much just the overall color multiplier of this specular result. So as we go to black, you can see we have no specular highlight. As this starts to get closer and closer to white, our specular highlight becomes stronger and stronger. And we can also define some kind of a color for this specular highlight if we choose. Alright. Now, just to make this specular result a little bit easier to see, I'm going to take the diffuse color and make it a little bit darker. And now we can start to see our specular result with a little bit of color that we've added into it. And now it becomes just a little bit easier to see this against this darker diffuse color. So really, we just have the control for the specular color and the specular exponent. So the exponent is controlling how quickly the light dies off from the center of the highlight to the outer edge of the shader. So a lower exponent means that the specular highlight's able to maintain its energy a lot longer. So as a result, we start to get these much softer, much more spread out specular highlights. So this starts to give us a very, very soft, spread out, sort of a satin-like material. Now if we start to increase the exponent, you can see how our energy from the center of the highlight dies off very, very quickly. And we can actually overdrive this value if we choose to. And you can see as a result now we get these much, much tighter specular highlights. So this phong shader can start to give us some tighter, more controlled specular highlights compared to something like the blend shader, which once the specular highlight starts to tighten up past a certain amount, we'll start to get some kind of blurriness on the specular highlight, really no matter what we try to do. So this phong shading result can actually start to change that up and start to give us some little tighter results compared to what we can get with some of these other materials. So that's a look at some of the special attributes found on this mental ray phong material.